What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22. Last time out we were at the Austrian Grand Prix, and after a decent recovery in the sprint race we went from P16 to P8. We fucked up and the engine blew up, so yeah. We're trying to re-sign Enzo Fittipaldi for the rest of the season. We're going to give him the low risk offer to have the highest chance of him re-signing for us, and yeah, he didn't want to join, so that's the end of that with Enzo Fittipaldi, I guess, and now we're going to have to look for some other teammates. We could try again and offer him something more, but I don't really think he deserves it. I briefly here considered getting Christian Lundgaard back on the team. You can see maybe he wants to come back after spending some time away, but his racecraft is so much lower than Fittipaldi's that I was a bit apprehensive. And then I had a look at Piastri, and Piastri is already better than Fittipaldi. And when all my personnel booster applied to Piastri, he could be even better. So we're going to offer him the low risk offer as well, because I think Piastri, I didn't want to sign him straight out of the gate because I didn't think our car was worth it. But now, we're making improvements, we're competing with the cars around us. I think now is the time to have a driver like Piastri on our team, and he has signed for us, so that's good. We're going to renew our sponsors for now, which is at odds with what I said in the last video, but I narrated that after I'd already recorded this, so what I said will be true of future sponsor renewals. We're just going to put some activities and stuff to fill out the time, and yeah, we'll go from there. This race upcoming, now that we've reached the halfway point of the season, is Budapest, Magyar Nagydic, or however it's pronounced. Yeah, we don't typically do too well around here. We actually had a DNF last year, if I'm not mistaken. This was around the time I had a string of 4 DNFs in 5 races, I think. The only race I finished was the Italian Grand Prix. It was an ICE failure, so that's consigned us to a definite engine penalty. An ICE is not going to last half a season, just won't. So yeah, we're gonna have to deal with that some point later in the season, probably around the USA, somewhere near there, USA, Japan, something like that, I imagine. But until then, there's not much we can do about it. We've got an activity here, which is should we support a charity event or miss the charity event to attend a chassis department team building event. So it's basically like, do we want to decrease the morale of the chassis department and increase our acclaim, or vice versa, I assume. Some of those ones have hidden sort of qualifiers, but you can, if you read it carefully enough, you can usually figure out what it wants from you. I was having a look here, see if there's any upgrades we can do, like for the facilities or anything like that, but there wasn't yet. Do we want to boost Piastri's racecraft or his experience? Let's have a look what I end up choosing. I choose racecraft. We want to see him make lots of overtakes in the race. Of course, it doesn't improve his overall pace doing that. It literally just improves his ability to race wheel to wheel with someone. We now have enough for a facility upgrade, and we're going to go for a build time upgrade on the engine department, which will allow us to unlock a ton of Spec 2 engine upgrades, which will be exciting because our engine is already pretty fast. So it's going to be interesting to see how much faster it will get as a result of doing that. Just going to see if there's any more that we can get there, but there's not, and that will be the end of that for now. So here we are in the race weekend proper. You can see sat across from me now, it's Oscar Piastri, our 4th teammate in the span of 2 seasons. It's getting a bit ridiculous at this point that we can't hold anyone for longer than half a season. Although granted, I didn't try with Robert Schwartzman, and now ironically he's the only one that's actually got a seat in Formula 1. I wonder if we'll see any more retirements this season that will lead to new drivers being brought in to replace departing ones. I'm trying to think of who's most likely to be retiring. Alonso, Vettel, and then some other like sort of fringe ones are usually Hamilton, Ricciardo. Sometimes actually Bottas has already gone, hasn't he? I was going to say Bottas, but he's already gone.
And with the cars now over the line, let's see our top 3 again. Hamilton, Perez, and Carlos Carlos Sainz. And if today's practice is anything to go by, we're in for an exceptional weekend of Formula One.
Yep, so P19, but we didn't do a soft compound run. The pace never feels good around Budapest, so I wasn't too concerned by that. But yeah, hopefully we can improve from that in qualifying at least slightly. The other person who I was thinking of wasn't Bottas, it was Perez. Perez usually retires within the first sort of 4 or 5 seasons of your career mode. Thinking about it, Alonso doesn't always retire, which is I always find amazing. But I guess it's like that the devs know that he's like planning to race until he's about 50 or whatever. So yeah, we'll see what happens with him. But I'd say the most likely is probably going to be Vettel and then maybe Alonso. I'm not sure. It's once you get to the point where drivers like Sainz and Leclerc and Albon are retiring, that's when you know you've been playing this game for too long. Going to put on another chassis upgrade. Didn't recommend it, but I'm always in the hunt to improve the chassis as far as we can, and that was no exception. And now it's time to get into the first qualifying session of the weekend. I say the first. Well, I guess there could potentially be up to 3. But yeah, qualifying is now, and yeah, I don't know what my target for this one is. Probably at least Q2. I think maybe we could sneak into Q3. That's sort of the pace we had around here last year, and I think we've improved since then, so we'll have to wait and see. First lap, good enough for P1 initially, but I'm sure that we'll get knocked down a bit at some point. We were P5 at the end of the session before we set our second flying lap. We do get held up maybe a tiny bit by an Alfa Romeo of Zhou, but I think it should be alright. And then at the end of the session, we go fast enough to get P4. So not bad overall, but yeah, I don't know if that's going to be indicative of our overall pace and what we're capable of doing in Q2 or even Q3 if we get that far. Piastri actually out-qualifies Vettel. That adds further fuel to the argument that Vettel should maybe think about hanging his race boots up. That, and I feel like Stroll is outperforming him a lot at the moment, at least in qualifying. Maybe not in the race, but Stroll is, massively out-qualifying Vettel a lot of the time. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think the writing could be on the wall for his career, and sometimes it's better to go out with dignity, like he did in real life, of course. Anyway, here we are in Q2, and we're on our first flying lap on a set of used soft compound tyres. And it's going to be good enough for a 1:16.8, which puts us P3, but we're 4/10 of Alex Albon, so it's definitely not going to be good enough for us to make it through. Williams are improving, but I don't think they're improving so much that I should be out-qualified by them all of a sudden. Here we are going into my second flying lap, and you can see we're already very close to our former teammate Robert Schwartzman. This could be not good for our chances of making it into Q3. You can see already I've lost a bit of time there from just not being able to attack the corner as much as I ideally would like to. I'm sure you've heard all about the sort of concertina effect that's generated by following closely with a car in front, where they kind of slow you down a little bit and then you can get on the power earlier. Lando Norris actually is out of qualifying. I'm not sure what happened with him, but that means that he won't be progressing any further. Q2 will be where his journey ends as well, because you can see I'm already ahead of him. We're improving marginally, but I can't shake the feeling that if Robert Schwartzman wasn't ahead of us, we would be improving by more than this. But we'll never know unless we were to unless this was our first lap and then we did another lap afterwards. But this is going to be our last lap of the session, so it remains to be seen. I don't know if this is going to be good enough for us to get out of Q2, I've got to be honest. We're only going to be 2/10 faster. I feel like we probably needed a bit more than that. We're going to cross the line and we'll see if it's good enough. And we finish in P11, so it's not, unfortunately. As much as I wish it was, we are out in Q2. It does mean that we save a set of soft compound tyres. Yeah, frustratingly, we were only a few hundredths off of making it into Q3. But yeah, just not good enough in the end. We did at least beat Schwartzman, which was encouraging to see. But yeah, so it does mean we save a set of soft compound tyres for the race, which means that we could potentially go big on strategy, maybe throw on a set of softs to begin the race instead of a set of mediums, like all the cars in front of us will, I imagine. Maybe the cars around us will also do the same thing. We'll have to wait and see. Hamilton is running away with this rivalry. I think there's actually no way to beat him anymore, because he's 6 points ahead, and this race is going to be the last race of the rivalry. So I just ranked up to rank 14, but you can kiss goodbye to that next video, because there's no way for me to win that rivalry anymore. So now we're going to just progress through and get ready to start the race. I don't really know what I'm aiming to do here. I mean, points, obviously. Maybe sort of like top 7 might be like a good aim. I don't know. I'm trying to think, because I know that Norris is starting behind me, and I get the feeling I can probably jump Ricciardo. So top 7 is where I would aim.
It's race day in Budapest as we get ready for another round of Formula One action. We're not expecting too many retirements at this circuit. There are plenty of current and former drivers with flawless finish rates here. In particular, Ralf Schumacher, who made it across the line in all 10 of his Hungarian Grand Prix starts. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital Budapest, the 14 corners of the Hungaro Ring are steeped in history and prestige. Overtaking's always been difficult on this technical 2.7-mile track, but the last few years in particular have turned up some exceptional races. So let's hope we're in for another one here today. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Sainz, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Perez, Albon, Ricciardo, Fernando Alonso, and Pierre Gasly, Robinson, Schwartzman, Mick Schumacher, and Norris, Joe, Latifi, Yuki Tsunoda, and Kevin Magnussen, Ocon, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, and Sebastian Vettel starts from the back of the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Look at the smug look in Schwartzman's eyes. He knew what he did. Alright, so here we go. No words of encouragement from Mark on this occasion. We're just going to get straight into it. And we're going to, as I said, we're going to go for a bold strategy, throw on a set of softs and go soft medium. I think most people are doing a medium hard actually, so this is a very aggressive strategy. Something similar to what we did last year, if I'm not mistaken. At least I know that the video title was Strategy Gambles or something like that. So, yeah, we're doing a similar thing in this instance as well. And we'll see if we can compete with the cars around us as a result. We've got Gasly, Alonso, Ricciardo, all of those drivers ahead of us. So we'll see if we can compete with them. Albon actually qualified 7th, amazingly. That's got to be Williams' best qualifying performance in a while, I reckon. Get a good parking, and now we are ready with the grid lining up, and we'll see if we can compete with the drivers around us. See if we can get a superior start. Here we go. The lights come on, and the lights go out. Here we go. Right, so it's a pretty good getaway. Gasly also has a pretty good getaway. Alonso not so much. They're going to be racing with one another. My getaway was so-so, but we'll see if we can maybe send it around the inside of a few cars here at turn 1. We're going to hook it around the outside of Gasly, and I think maybe we just about won this position. We'll have the inside line for the following corner. We'll brake nice and late. He's going to compete with us still through the corner, but by the time that we make it through, I'm going to be ahead. Alonso and Ricciardo are going wheel to wheel. This is inviting me into the battle, but Ricciardo starts pulling away as we pull down the straight. and we'll have to wait and see. Albon looking for P6, trying to get ahead of Perez there. Doesn't quite pull off the move, but yeah, I mean, a pretty good attempt by him, all things considered. I think Gasly was potentially looking to challenge me into this chicane. You cannot go too wide through this chicane, brother. I promise you that much. You know, I've tried. It never ends well. Right, so yeah, decent start. We make up 1 position and we're up into the points. Lando Norris has already made up 2 positions, and he's probably going to be challenging us as we progress through here. But he does make contact with me there. He's, you know, an absolute contact with me on first lap merchant in terms of the number of times I feel like me and him have had collisions over the course of the season. Definitely we had a bit of beef in China, had a bit of beef in Miami. I think there was another race where something happened between me and him. I can't quite remember. Seems like we're always together on lap 1. Here we go on lap 4, and you can see that I've dropped Norris and Gasly somewhat, and I'm close to Ricciardo. But despite the fact that I'm close, I just can't quite make it work with the DRS. I'm just not quite close enough. I think it's because he's in a train which honestly looks like it extends all the way to Verstappen, who I think is in P2. So this is, yeah, a really long train of cars who all are kind of being sandwiched in together, and this could potentially mean that Norris is on to catch up with me again. But you see, Ricciardo drops me quite significantly throughout the course of the lap. Like, now he's moving to being almost a second ahead of me, whereas at the end of the DRS zone he was like 3/10 ahead of me. I guess my car must be a bit more optimized for top speed than his is, because I'm closing him down on the straights, but then in the corners he's drastically pulling away from me. Must have superior traction and whatnot. But it's not a big deal. Like I said, we don't need to overtake him for now. We can just bide our time. I mean, our tyres are probably already going off, to be honest. That's such as the nature of the soft compound tyres. It was all about getting a good start and making up as many positions as I could in the first couple of laps. If I only made up 1 position, that's alright. It's a long race, and we'll see what we can do going forward. As we come down onto the DRS straight again, we'll see if we're close enough to Ricciardo on this occasion. We're burning all of our battery. We've got the DRS wide open. But yeah, we don't even get close really. We close them up by maybe a tenth or 2. Nothing too significant. Here we are now on lap 8, and you see that Ricciardo has pulled away from the DRS now. I'm kind of in a bit of a no man's land. Norris is 5 seconds behind, and Ricciardo is over a second ahead. So I'm not really racing with anyone at the moment. I'm just kind of biding my time. It's a bit like a few races we've had this season where it's like I've been faster than the car in front, or faster than the car behind, but slower than the car in front, which is reasonable to say in that scenario that I'm pretty much in the perfect position in the race. But as we come onto lap 10, my tyres had gone off significantly by this point, and it was time to pit onto a set of medium compound tyres. To go to the end, we're going to try and do 25 laps on mediums. It's a very bold strategy. It's a long time to be on medium tyres, but if we can pull it off, and we do have a few tyre wear upgrades now, we could be potentially still looking at making up a few more positions in the race.
That was a fantastic stop.
It's a fast stop, but you can see that because we've pit so early, everyone has come out ahead of us except Magnussen, who I assume has already stopped, unless he must have had some kind of spin or something, or contact, I don't know, but there's no way that he's there on pure pace. You know, he's Kevin Magnussen. He's a driver I was potentially looking at maybe signing one day, but we'll wait and see what happens with that. For now, we're looking at catching the cars in front of us, and on lap 13 we do just that. You see Piastri is only 1 second ahead of us now, as he is not doing a bad job in his first race. He's keeping pace with Ocon and Tsunoda ahead of him, and I think he was contending with Vettel, who actually started on soft tyres as well. But we need him to get out of the way of us nice and quickly. I wish there was team orders in this game, but we are going to have to do this the long way around. Nonetheless, we've got DRS. He does have DRS to Ocon actually, but we've also got the battery. We're going to try and look for a move up his inside here. I think we just about pull it off, and we'll have the DRS again. So that should be case closed on this one. But now Piastri's looking back for a way back ahead of us for some reason. Probably because they don't code the AI to think about the whole race. They only code them to think about each corner. So yeah, that's the explanation for how that happened. But nonetheless, we managed to hold him off for now, and we find ourselves in P18 and closing down Ocon and Tsunoda ahead. We're within DRS range, so hopefully I can attack Ocon into turn 1 of the following lap, lap 15, but we'll have to wait and see on that. It's unfortunate. I've kind of been dropped out into some traffic in this race. I would have liked to have kind of had a bit of clear air to start attacking the gap between myself and Ricciardo, but based on the amount of traffic I've come out into, I think there's pretty much no way that we're going to be able to catch up with him and undercut him, as it were. We got the DRS again, we got the battery again, we're burning it the whole way down the straight, and it doesn't matter if I'm using it up, because eventually I'm going to be in a bit of a no man's land. We send on 1, we send on 2, can we pull off the double overtake? We've done it. What a move. That's got to be one of the best moves I've made all season, to be honest. Literal 1 braking zone, 2 overtakes. And now someone's going slowly, instant action, and it's Carlos Sainz. It looks like he might be out of the race with some kind of issue. Not sure if it's gearbox or engine, but yeah, it's over for him as the yellow flags come out, and that is the confirmation Carlos Sainz is out of the race. Not been a good season for him. He was competing with the World Championship last year for a lot of the season, winning races, all that kind of thing. This season he's won nothing, and he definitely isn't in the championship hunt. I think I'm still ahead of him in the championship, actually, so yeah, having a pretty poor season by his standards. Lap 16, you see we've closed up to the back of Lance Stroll significantly. We'll see if we can get ahead of him in an unconventional spot, because I don't want to be stuck behind him for a whole lap. That's going to really ruin my chances of competing with the other cars that I was actually racing with. You know, I went on a split strategy for a reason, and that all goes to pot if I can't overtake the cars around me. So we're going to be desperately looking for a way past Stroll here. He can't overtake into the chicane, and you see, despite the fact that he's on old mediums, I think we just can't seem to find a way through. You know, we're getting so close to the back of him, but there's just no way for me to go through. Only up behind, and then yeah, I guess we're gonna have to just try and do it in the DRS zone. This is a shame. That's like a whole minute I've been stuck behind him, probably losing at least a few seconds over what I could have been. I mean, you see the gap between Tsunoda and Ocon now is already 2 seconds, and I only overtook them just over a lap ago. As Zhou Guanyu comes into the pits, we're now going to have the DRS. He's not going to have any DRS. We should be able to make this overtake work with relative ease. Albon has now come out of the pits ahead of us. He was ahead of us before. I was really hoping to undercut him, but with Stroll doing what he did, and Ocon and Tsunoda and Piastri all sort of getting in the way a little bit, it's meant that yeah, we've unfortunately come out in P11. I think there's still a few cars to pit, but we'll see what happens regarding those. I think there's Latifi and Schwartzman ahead who haven't pitted. I think that might be it, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to wait and see who comes in and who stays out. But I think, yeah, it's net P9 at the moment. So we're getting closer. There's another yellow flag. I think this is Alonso, actually. Yep, the smoke billowing out of the back of his car. So he is now out of the race as well. And that is 2 DNFs in the space of about 3 laps. And they're both for cars that were running ahead of me as well. So that's 2 positions I gained for free. And now we're in net P8, I think. We'll have a look and see if Latifi and Joe pit now. If they don't, I don't really know what they're doing. But yeah, we'll have to see what's going on with them. Yeah, they both come into the pits now, so we're going to be in P8 after this, and we'll see if we can make the moves on Albon as well. We've got the DRS, we've got the battery. He's got no DRS. I think he does have a bit of battery that he's burning, but when you're burning both, you're going to be faster than the car ahead. We dummy to the outside a little bit, and then we send one massively around the outside, and we're going to have the DRS again, and that's going to be what we need to compete with him. We're not burning any battery on this occasion, because I know I can send one up the inside here. He's on cold, hard tyres. To be fair, they're probably warmed up by now, but still. Another driver on cold, hard tyres now. Ahead is Ricciardo. I think he's probably going to pull away from us, because he does seem to have had the superior pace throughout the entire race. But, you know, I've been wrong before, and I've been pleasantly surprised before. So we'll wait and see what happens with him. The yellow flag, I think, is still for Alonso. Don't worry, there's not another DNF. That would have been crazy, truly. We're now on to lap 21 of 35, and I think Ricciardo has just about pulled out of the DRS range. It technically says I'm in the DRS range, but I didn't have any DRS on this occasion, and there's only one detection point, so I'm not going to have any through this DRS zone either. And yeah, I can't help but feel like the best of the chances we were going to get ahead of to get ahead of him have kind of gotten away from us a little bit. I think we're guaranteed P8 in this race. I don't think Gasly's going to catch up 15 seconds, even if my tyres do go off. But I would like to compete with Albon, especially because Williams technically are a competitor of ours. You know, we're competing with them in the championship, even if we're doing a lot better at the moment. So I would like to maintain that streak if possible. Lap 26, you can see that he's you know, steadily maintaining the gap. I think Albon is starting to close me down, perhaps even a little bit. So yeah, we're not looking at a P6 in this race unless something significant happens up front. It would have to be like a DNF or a spin. Maybe a safety car would get us back in the fight, but even that I don't think will be good enough. I think we've reached the crossover point now where the hards are going to be better than the mediums for the rest of the race, so I'm going to have to give everything I possibly can if I want to finish in P7. I think Albon is going to be a nuisance now for the rest of the race. We'll wait and see what happens, but yeah, I'm not overly optimistic of my chances in this race. Not to mention that Albon has been massively, I would say, outperforming. Some people don't believe in the concept of outperforming. In that case, Albon has been performing significantly better than most people would have expected in a Williams. You know, he's drastically outperforming Latifi, and you know, finding his way into Q2 and Q3 in a car which is still sort of like, you know, maybe good enough to just about get out of Q1, but definitely not into Q3. And he was qualifying like 7th as well. It wasn't even like a narrow, like, oh, I snuck into Q3 and then I got P10 or whatever. You know, he was legit. So you know, that's someone we can potentially keep an eye on for in the future as well, if we want a teammate who you know, can potentially drag a car into a position it's not worth. But obviously we'd have to work on our personnel as well, facilities to give us the best chance of having him sort of performing alongside me. You know, we see at the moment we've got lots of teammates who come into this team, and I mean, Schwartzman and Lundgaard last season were performing alongside me, and then the game updated and all of a sudden I was massively faster than Schwartzman, and then I was massively faster than Fittipaldi. And on the evidence of this race, I seem to be a tad faster than Piastri as well. I forgot who my teammate was. You know, it's his first race. I'm still getting used to faces and names and things. Lap 32, you see the orange icon down in the bottom right suggests that my tyres have now gone off to the point that they're 60% worn. If they get to 75%, everything over that is risking a puncture. We move on to the last lap now. We're at 67%. I've been on these for 25 laps, so I don't think we're going over 75% territory, but I'm definitely giving everything that they've got to get to the end of this race. Albon has closed up to us quite significantly. He's going to have the DRS. Is he going to attack us into this corner? Not quite, but we're going to have to really push hard, and we just don't have anything left to fight with on these tyres. You can see how worn they are. But that's the price of a strategy gamble, is you've got to be able to hold off, you've got to be able to defend at the end of the race, because the cars behind you are just going to have such significantly better pace compared to you. He's obviously not going to attack us into the chicane. He wants to finish the race. We just need to make it around a few more corners, but the car feels so heavy. These are such dead medium tyres. You know, his tyres definitely feel better than mine at this point. He's closing up significantly. I think he's going to attack us on this next corner. We'll see if he can get ahead. This is kind of reminiscent of a move that Arthur Leclerc went for in Budapest in 2022. I forget who he was overtaking. It might have been Maloney. I'm not 100% sure. But that did not end well for him. Actually, I think it was Crawford. But anyway, it's not important. He ended up hitting him. Me and Albon kept it clean. And that's the difference between F1 and F3. And it means we finish P7. Man, that was an eventful race. A lot happened. A lot of it was just me cutting my way through back markers. Sebastian Vettel gets driver of the day. He's trying to convince me he's not washed. And a Ferrari has won the race. I think it's Leclerc. Well, it must be, because Sainz DNF'd, right?
What do you think helped them deliver this result?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver driver and car today. I mean, we could talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those that we've witnessed today.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
Russell back on the podium. I can see that he's still doesn't think he's out of this championship just yet. I think Leclerc definitely is leading the championship after that. I can't remember if he already... I think he overtook in Austria to start leading the championship, and he'll be extending his lead with that. He wants to defend his title, and I'm sure that Verstappen, Perez, Russell, Norris will all want to do everything they can to stop him from defending his title for another season. But yeah, Ferrari are definitely fighting back into the second half.
So let's review the updated driver standings. Charles Leclerc, currently leading the championship standings, extends his lead even further with this result. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Natalie Pinkham, come on, who do you pick?
Sebastian Vettel would definitely be my first choice. He showed up a lot of the drivers out on track today and didn't show any signs of slowing down.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. Meanwhile, good work from the owner-drivers team this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
Yeah, so Sebastian Vettel recovered to P11 in the end. So very, very close to the points. Schwartzman was in the points, and Schumacher is the only driver who's driven a full season who hasn't scored any points this season, remarkably. Which is amazing, because I'm sure I had multiple points battles with him. Definitely in Canada. That was a very memorable one. So I'm guessing he must have finished outside the points in that. Oh yeah, that was for 10th, wasn't it? So yeah, he messed up his chances of getting his first points of the season by going for a dodgy dive bomb 3 laps before the end of the race. We're looking at the highlights now, and you can see it was a race packed with sort of racing, as you would expect, but the way I was sort of battling hard with Norris there, I wasn't really aware of it at the time, but that was way harder and way more hard fought than I thought it was going to be. I'm pretty happy with the P7. Like I said at the beginning, it was my target, even if I feel like I kind of lucked out a little bit. Let's see this double overtake again. I'm going to get hyped watching this one. Oh man, I just braked perfectly. I don't know. And that allowed me to get past both cars. If I'd have braked even a second, or like a 10th earlier or a 10th later, that would have either been a single overtake or it would have been nowhere near as good. And you see Sainz peeling off the road there as well as we move up into, I think that was for P14 or something like that. I don't remember. Lap 23. I don't remember what happens on this lap. If anything, might just be some driving on display. But yeah, I know I fluked a little bit with the 2 DNFs that allowed me to get up into P7. But you know, 6 points is 6 points. And it means that we've pulled ahead of Alpine as a result of Alonso having that DNF as well. So now we are 6 points clear in P5, and I think this is going to be a battle that goes down to the wire. To be perfectly honest, I don't think it's going to be wrapped up until Abu Dhabi. But you know, who knows? Maybe they could have a massive burst in development. Maybe we could have a massive burst in development, and all of a sudden, it could swing one way or the other. We did actually outperform Hamilton on points, but it's not going to make a difference. He's going to win the rivalry. That's that done. I don't know if it's going to say it here, but yeah, that is over. So that's going to be a loss of acclaim at some point, and that's going to be something we're just going to have to deal with. But yeah, I realise now I haven't actually been investing much in my perks. I kind of forgot that they existed, so I should probably try and take a look at those at some point, but I keep forgetting. We do have a surplus of cash, so it would definitely be worth doing. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.